everyone, good evening. You're watching The Money Show on ET Now. I'm Mubina Kapasi. And today on TMS, we are celebrating Teachers' Day, and hence I've decided to swap the studio for the classroom and the students for the teachers. I'm at St. Peter's School in Mumbai, and I have with me teachers who teach right from nursery to the 10th grade. It reminds me a lot of my school, but the only difference is that this time around, I'm the one who's going to be conducting the lessons. Our teachers who've been inspiring us and enlightening us all our lives do also deserve to have the right financial plan for them and deserve to know what their retirement goals are. And hence we on The Money Show decided to host a personal finance class for all our teachers. And to help me with that, I am joined by none other than Feroz Aziz of Anand Rathi. Feroz,
hi,
thank you so much for joining us, Feroz. And of course, a big good evening to all our teachers. Feroz Aziz, of course, is a stalwart of personal finance. This is your golden opportunity to ask any personal finance questions that you have. You can literally bombard him. Feroz, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Mubina. Thanks for having me. Hello, friends. I think it's wonderful to see so many teachers in one room. And I think our gratitude towards this community has to be the highest, because whatever we are today is because of the formative years being well trained by this community. So I think we will try and simplify personal finance so that a person can embark on the journey of progressing and increasing the chance of meeting their objectives. We all work so that we get money, but I think at a point in time the money needs to efficiently work for you as well. So I'll try and break down this process into a 3-4 step process and probably give you action points to begin and take the journey forward. So point one, when it comes to money, money can be a huge source of joy or misery. It depends on how you end up utilizing it. So one way to give direction to money is to put goals in place. See, if you told the money that this is what I want to achieve and empowered it with the right decisions, because you are the decision maker, money is a non-living thing, you're trying to empower it with decisions which you're taking to help you attain your goals. So step one, put your goals in place. Okay, if you can spend a weekend writing down your goals, that will actually give a very, very narrow, sharp direction. To give you illustrations of what goals could be, some goals could be need to have, in the sense you can't do without those goals. There are some which are good to have goals. So first, if you arrange all of them, you write all of them, then you can arrange them in the chronological of their order of their importance. See, if I have to get my child educated, is that a good to have objective or a need to have objective? It need to have. Okay, but retirement is not a good to have objective. As life expectancy of human beings are increasing, automatically retirement is going to be one objective which will take tremendous amount of pressure. Because if you're going to be living till 90 and retire at 60, you will have 30 years of no income, but you have a job to retain the same lifestyle which you have when you were working. So this cannot happen without planning. When small things in life require planning, something so enormous that you have to work for 30 years in life and save enough to sustain the subsequent 30 years is not going to be something which will happen ad hoc. It will require a lot of might and strategy in place. So write down your goals, categorize your goals as the ones which you can't compromise, the ones which even if they don't meet, you can still live a life of dignity, right? The first ones you can't compromise on, so write them down. That's in the first step. If you wrote them down, then you have to put a numerical value to it. Every goal needs to have a numerical value. So you will have to first put the today's numerical value and then envisage or inflate that value to what the date is. So step one, write your goals. Step two, put a numerical value and then increase it for time. Let me give you a simple thumb rule. Okay, if you are wanting to consume something which is worth 100 rupees today, after 10 years, just assume that it will double. It's a good simple thumb rule rather than using complex compounding on Excel sheet. So if you have 20 years to consume that and it takes 100 rupees today, what should you assume it will be required? 400, right? Double twice. So that's your numerical value. Once you have a goal, then you need vehicles to help you achieve the goal. right? Goals can't be meaningful unless there is something else which can be a catalyst. So to understand the second thing, step 2, you have to know which are the vehicles or assets, as we call them, which will help me achieve that. So like we said, step 1 goal. There are 2 types: need to have, good to have. Okay, you need to be very clear of this. Second, in this, a sub point is inflate for time. So every 10 years, double the value. Like Mubina said, it is conservative. This is step 1. Then comes step 2. Understand who can help me achieve these goals. Assets can help us achieve goals. Can expenses help us achieve these goals? No, only assets can, right? So there are 2 types of assets. One are growth assets, the other one is protection assets. Growth assets, 2 types: equity, real estate. I am abbreviating it as RE. Then you have 2 protection assets: gold and bonds, deposits. This is called debt, DEBT. Equity is nothing but becoming partners with a company, right? Lending is called a bond. If you lend to a bank, it is called a deposit, right? Fixed deposit, as we call it. Real estate, it's our favorite in India, so no introduction needed. Gold, of course, not with the majority in the room, women, will I explain gold. When I can do my decision myself, great. But do we do that for a living? No, you teach for a living. So it is wise to delegate the activity of making the choice of equity to somebody else, making the choice of debt to somebody else who does it for a living. That platform which helps me delegate my work of benefiting from these assets is called a mutual fund. Correct? So mutual fund is a platform where everybody's money is collected and there is one karta, one guy who's bright enough or lady who's bright enough to invest on behalf of those hundreds and thousands of people.
Teachers, if you all have any questions, I know a couple of you all raised your hands, so shoot them away. Ma'am, I know you had a question first.
I would like to know the difference between a share and a mutual fund, or how you term it as.
So what's the difference between a share or a mutual fund? See, the problem is with our finance profession or finance subject, they use several words for one meaning, right? Equity means share, right? Shares and equity are synonyms, right? So mutual fund is a combination of shares put together, okay, which is managed by a person. That's a mutual fund. Share is nothing but one certificate of a proof of a partnership. It's called a share, correct? Mutual fund is an aggregation of several people's money, and that one person might buy 50 shares, okay? One share is a constituent of a mutual fund. So one is a constituent, the other is the wrapper. Mutual fund is a wrapper. Like you go shopping, you come back with a bag which has several things, one of them is a share inside. So that's the difference between a share and a mutual fund.
I mean, share is more susceptible to losses, market rise and fall, and what about mutual funds then? Is it a safer bet?
See, if you buy one company, then it's but obvious that if that company does bad, that the share price can become half. But if you gave it to a mutual fund, he will or she will put it into 50 companies, right? Once you put it into 50 companies, a day could be good for 20 companies, it could be a bad day for 30 companies. So there is a concept of averaging, right? So point 1, you're absolutely right. If you buy one share, it is very risky because all of your money is put into one share. But if you gave it to a mutual fund, he or she, the fund manager, will put it into 50 shares. Now, for example, the 8 mutual funds which I recommend and I buy for myself, if you bought all the 8, you will have 232 shares. If you have put your money in effect into 232 shares, what have you done? You have put small little money in every share. So the risk comes down dramatically. If I put some numbers to the risk coming down, it comes down to 1/3. If the risk of buying one share is 3 times more than a mutual fund, numerically and statistically. So this phenomena of spreading your money is called diversification. So diversification, which is the key inherent property of a mutual fund, helps to bring down the risk. How much? To 1/3.
Okay, I think we have one more question here.
Do we come to know, like, the fund manager, in what is he investing, whether he's investing in gold or equity or debt, whatever? Do I come to know?
Of course you do. So see, every mutual fund has a certain objective, right? A gold fund will only invest in gold. So before they get your money invested, they are very, very clear of what will they do with the money. They can't do anything as per their whims and fancies. So there are separate gold funds, there are separate equity funds, there are separate debt funds, there are some funds which mix all the three, right? So mutual fund in India on the private sector side has been there from 1993. So it has gone through several iterations of evolution by now. It's almost more than 25 years of private sector. So in India it started almost 50 years back. That was UTI. So it has gone through the progression. So to answer your pointed question, before you invest, you will have to make a choice whether you are investing in a fund which is equity, debt or gold, or two of them or all of them. There are different kinds of funds. So there are about 2,000, 3,000 funds from which you can make a choice of 7, 8.
As a layman, I have no idea what equity is, what mutual fund is, what gold is. So how do I come to know that I should invest in equity, or I should invest in gold, or I should invest in debt? How do I come to know? That fund manager will help me out, or should I go to some broker? How is it going to work?
You will need an advisor, or you will need the money show. Mubina does a great job in giving advice because they aggregate that advice, right? See, what happens is, I think it's a chicken and egg story, to be honest. You need good advice to become rich. You need to be rich to hire a good advisor. So it's a chicken and egg story. So electronic medium is a very, very good medium to get unbiased advice. See, one important thing is, depending on your goals, if your goals are long term, let me give you thumb rules. If your goal is 10 years plus, then equity can be the core component of your investment strategy, because equity in 10 years has never lost money in mutual funds. See, we checked, if somebody invested for 10 years, every day, different person, the unluckiest guy made 10%, compounded for 10 years. So if you increase the time frame, the risk also comes down dramatically, right? What are people worried about? They're worried about their capital, right? It hurts immensely when you put 100 and you see it at 90. So if you have a longer time frame, what should be your larger asset? Equity. So if I gave you thumb rules, that was step 4. Step 4 is allocation. Step 4 is asset allocation. How much do I put in each asset? Looking at the current situation, let me give you some suggestion. Then from there on, for reviews, you can definitely write to the Money Show and they will do a great job in terms of giving you advice. So 10-year plus, if your goal is 10 years away, have 80% into equity, 20% into debt. Okay? If it is 5 years, put 60% in equity and 40% in debt. Okay? I'm assuming you have enough gold already. Okay? 3 years, you can have 40 in equity and 60 in debt. If it is anything less than 3 years, ideally stick all to debt. Okay? So these are your asset allocation thumb rules. You will not go dramatically wrong if you followed this. If it is 10 year plus, put 80 into equity, right? And 20 into debt. 5 years, 60, 40. 3 years, 40 in equity, 60 in debt. Anything less than 3 years, just stick to debt.
You know, Feroz, when you say debt, do you also mean fixed deposits? Because that is a very, very popular and a very, very common instrument as well. And the fact that debt gives out fixed, return 8%, 7%, whatever. Does debt also mean fixed deposit?
Yes, debt means fixed deposit, your PPF, your EPF, your small savings, all that is debt. Anything which has a fixed return is debt, right? Anything which has a variable return, partnership kind of a model is equity.
Okay, I think we have one more question from the teacher over there at the back.
I just want to know what's the difference between a mutual fund and an SIP, and which is more beneficial?
So that's a very important question, because we have to cut the clutter and tell you mutual fund is a platform. SIP, systematic investment plan, is a method to invest in a mutual fund. Mutual fund, see, if there is a mutual fund, you want to invest. You can invest all your money at once, or you can invest as you earn, right? So if you invest in a staggered fashion on a monthly basis, that is called a systematic investment plan in a mutual fund. So both are not competing products. Mutual fund is where the money goes. In a mutual fund, there are two methods to invest: lump sum, all money at once, which you have already accumulated. The second method of investing is a recurring method. The recurring method of investing in a mutual fund is called an SIP. Is it clear?
Right now, the scenario is such that they say if the bank collapses, like you said, if it is less than 3 years, you put it in debt, right? But supposing the bank collapses, there is something in the market that they say that the bank is not going to be responsible to pay you back. It's up to the bank whether they want to pay or they just bhul bhal jao. Is it really?
That's a very scary situation.
Just tell me the bank which you are referring to so that I can keep my money safe. See, what happens is, generally, we have derived our fear from a lot of hear and say, right? Sometimes Bollywood movies also have done justice to scaring people. It's not as scary. See, the whole point is we have very, very strong regulatory framework in India, right? Today, real estate has the first regulation, RERA, right? It is so late in the day, right? Something so important has got regulation now. This is like capital markets. Equity and debt has gone through this 30 years ahead. So the kind of regulation which we see is far, far stringent. It doesn't happen that way, okay? So you don't have to be overly worried. Why don't you have to be overly worried is because not taking the risk itself is a risk. It's very easy to not take risk, but that's your risk. Now let's assume, when I graduated from my MBA, let's assume I had to plan for my son's MBA, and let's assume today was when I had to pay his fee. I could have kept 2 lakhs in a fixed deposit, saying that let me keep it for my son's education. The fixed deposit in 15-year period would have become how much? It would have grown from 2 lakh rupees to 6 lakh rupees. Now I would take the 6 lakh rupees and go to pay my son's fee. I would only be able to pay 1 semester fee. Would my son get the same education I envisaged? What was the risk? The risk was 100%, that I will surely not get my son with the same education I got. But, so what happened? Not taking the risk made me comfortable for 15 years, no utar chadao, I am very comfortable. But the end of it, I got a bad news. I have only 6, these guys are asking for 22. On the same day, if I said, risk is a very good thing, risk is what gives you the return, right? Please don't be worried about risk. Manage risk. Don't get intimidated with risk. Because not taking the risk is the biggest risk. Now, if I would have put the same 2 lakhs back then, it would have been 30 lakhs today. In any good or bad mutual fund. In fact, I'm not speaking about the best mutual fund. I would have been very happy saying that, yeah, I didn't go through any utar chadao, I have come to 6 lakhs. But was I able to consume the service of those teachers who taught me for my child? No. Right? So, risk is the most positive term in the business of investing. Why? I'll prove it to you. I'll not prove it to you, I'll at least substantiate my claim. What separates people and their economic status? Why is 1% richer and why is 1% poorer? The assets are common for everybody, right? The Ambanis have to be as rich as you because they can use equity, you can use equity. Risk taking is what separates people in terms of their economic status, right? If all of us were compelled to not take risk, we all at one point in time would become equally rich or equally poor. Managing risk is very important. Understanding it, clearly understanding it, measuring it, managing it is very critical. Not being afraid of it, right? So, and I mean it because I'll tell you that at Anand Rathi we managed one of the largest derivative book. Derivative is a very risky instrument. It is 10 times more riskier than equity. After going through full circle, I'm concluding that risk is the best thing. If risk was not there, there was no return. We would all converge to the same economic status. So please see it as more positive. Learn to measure it, learn to manage it. It's not very tough. There are 3 risks you have to manage, right? When you can actually, as teachers, train a child who has a clean slate and bring them to whatever they become at the end of their passing out from here, then risk is something which will be a cakewalk for you guys.
And I think any PT teachers out here would know, right? No pain, no gain. So obviously. Okay, we just have time for a last couple of questions. Ms. Stevens out here has a question.
Thank you, Aziz, first of all, for coming. We are greatly indebted to you for this valuable advice. My only query is that when you invest in a debt fund, at whichever percentage it is, you get a fixed income every month. Now, when you decide to take out your debt fund, will you get the same amount or will you get a lesser amount?
So debt funds, ideally if you don't want your money back on a monthly basis, most of us are earning, all of us in this room are earning. So you might not need it today, you would want to save for the rainy day or retirement. So you have 2 alternatives in each mutual fund, growth or dividend. If you don't need a recurring amount, you should always choose a growth option so that you can get the compounding benefit. So always choose a growth option when you don't want the money. If you want the money, then there are 2 alternatives, but I will not confuse you with the SWP for the lack of time. So dividend option when you want the money. If you don't want the money, make sure that you choose growth option because the 8th wonder of the world is compounding, right?
Final question from.
Hello, Feroz. Thank you so much. As you said, that risk is something which one should indulge in. But my query is something little different because I have invested in all these things and for many years I've been doing so. Right now, everybody is after my life, stop investing. The recession is going on and India is going through a crisis. It's not going to improve. The scenario is going to remain the same till 2020 or mid-2020. Even from abroad, everybody's sending messages, BBC News, clippings and all that stuff. And I'm really, running from pillar to post, asking people. I have a management portfolio person who manages my funds. All right. But then even he is not telling me that, okay, you can stop. So I would ask you genuinely, should I stop that? Because for me, it's very important to invest for my son. I'm a single mom. So I don't want my money to go waste. It's like that. Because everybody is saying that stop, save everything. Even gold biscuits. And I got a firing at home to purchase one recently. Why the hell did you purchase that? So, because they say the price of gold is also going to come down, crash down. So, nothing is going to help. So, what should I do now? I'm in a dilemma.
I'm sure it's available on the net. Just go back 3 months. Everybody was very positive. NDA 2.0 is here. We are right up there. So, in a 10-year cycle, be rest assured, you will go through several of these cycles. Okay? And, say, like for example, 30 years back, somebody put 1,000 rupees every month. Has 1 crore today, right, as a maturity amount. Do you think that person went through no ups and downs? He or she would have gone through several ups and downs. In 10-year cycle, you will have 10 budgets which will come, 2 governments will come, 3 scares of recession will come, 1 actual recession will arrive. So all this will happen. That's exactly why everybody says invest for the long term. That's precisely the reason. If you ask me current context, there is nothing to worry because it will take immense amount of effort to put India into a recession. The demographics, there are of course some degree of catalyst which will be
13.8% gone down.
Huh?
13.8% if I'm not sure.
13.8%.
Is that your fund or?
No, that is what has gone down, the recession which is affecting India.
No.
That's what.
Okay.
We don't know what's
That's why we say do not rely on WhatsApp forwards because that can be very scary as well.
And I think, see, very importantly, these are the periods where you need some advisor to handhold you. That's where I genuinely, off record or record, ET Now is one of the channels which is the most positive narrative. Okay, because rightly positive, not too optimistic, not too pessimistic. Rise with India actually implies that we have to hold people's hand when they feel down and out, because this has happened. Now I'll tell you, last 10 years, every year there was a concern. But after every year you had a super major concern.
This is the most important, crucial year for Indian.
That's how you felt at that point in time when the concern was there, right? I'm not joking, because I've gone through that. There will be higher intensity. See, recession. Now, for example, a slowdown in the economy was always there. Indian economy was not doing supernormally well for the last 2 years. When you went and spoke to your friends who run small shops, they would say, our business in Eora. But they didn't have a voice. Now when that bad economy spilled over to big companies can go to the government and speak. Now where will a Kirana guy go and speak to the government? Right? Does he have a voice? So India has gone through 2 years of a slower growth anyway, but it was not optically visible. Today the noise is more because that has spilled over to the corporates who have a voice. Should you be worried? The answer is no. But having said which, you need to have a strategy. If you have bought several products from people and not put a plan in place, you have reason to be worried. Put a plan in place. Everybody who comes to you selling products wants to sell you the product. If you don't have a plan, right? If you're trying to make a jigsaw puzzle, you need to know what you're making, right? A jigsaw puzzle also gives you what you're trying to make. That's when you will make it. So if you don't have a plan, be worried for a weekend. Next weekend, stop being worried, make a plan. And if you have a plan in place, then you don't have to be worried. But if you have ad hoc brought products, कोई आएगा आपके पास बोलेगा ये इंश्योरेंस खरीद लो, कोई आके बोलेगा ये म्यूचुअल फंड खरीद लो. अगर आपने बहुत सारे प्रोडक्ट ढेर सारे लोगों से खरीद के प्लान के बगैर, if you have put things in place, then it's not a good idea. Then you have, it's at least a reason to change.
In fact, like the biggest recession is I think the 2008 recession, right? I mean, it was all gloom and doom all over, and since then as well, the market has risen. So it's not like, we've not bounced back. It's crashing, but and in fact, Feroz, what we as well say on the Money Show quite often, right? When the market is down, it's a good time to buy SIPs because you're basically getting the market at a discount, Eventually, when the market will bounce back, your SIP value as well will, or rather your mutual fund value as well will rise, just putting it simply that way. Unfortunately, we're out of time now. So teachers, I hope you've enjoyed this session, and I'm glad you guys are taking a lot of notes. And for the first time in the history of, I suppose, education, me as students will be telling all the teachers, do your homework properly. Of course, create a financial plan like Feroz has said. Feroz, thank you so much.